I'll just start off with a couple comments and then some injury updates, and I'll take your questions. Last year we dealt with a lot of adversity on and off the ice, and clearly we didn't meet the challenges that we faced. There's no duck in that. It was an extremely disappointing season, one we lived with all summer, and certainly one that drove us to make the changes that we did, both on and off the ice. But this year's it's a clean slate for everybody. John has made that very clear to the players. We know there's a lot of skeptics, a lot of people that don't believe we're a good hockey team. I know our players are eager to prove them wrong. We all are. There's a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we're excited about camp. And, in particular, I think this year, this is probably the best opportunity since I've been here for young players to step up and either earn a bigger role on the National Hockey League team or even to make the team. We have a big wave of young talent coming into our system this year. Some will play in Lehigh, some will play here, but it's an exciting opportunity for a lot of young players. Depending on how camp goes, we could have up to 10 players on our roster, 25 years old and younger. So clearly, particularly up front, there's a lot of opportunity for some young players to step up and show what they can do and see if they're part of the solution going forward. In terms of injuries, I'll start off with Sean Couturier. He's not been cleared to play, as you all know. This morning he'll see a specialist to get a second opinion. Based on that meeting and that appointment, we'll try to come up with a plan of attack, and as we have more information, we'll let you know. Ryan Ellis is out indefinitely. No timetable for his return to play. I'll just say that, my assumption is he won't play this season. If he does, it'll be a bonus. And that's how we've prepared this offseason by making the additions we did on the blue line. Patrick Brown had off-season back surgery. He's continuing to rehab. Timeline's a little murky. I would call it week to week. He is skating, but he has not been cleared for contact. Joel Fairview has been cleared to participate, but non-contact participation. I think you saw him this morning in the skating test. He's making good progress. In terms of when he'll be cleared for contact, that'll probably depend a little bit on how he feels in the skating portion and the practice portion of camp. But I think we're still looking week to week with Joel. Bobby Brink is in the building, rehabbing. Rehabbing's going well. He's 9 weeks post-op. Return to play, I believe, would still be in that December, January timeframe. The next step for him is to progress to on-ice rehab, which we hope to have him do in the next week or two. Ryan Fitzgerald has a lower body injury he suffered while skating in Boston a couple weeks ago. He's 1 to 2 weeks away. So with that, I will take your questions.
Chuck, how surprised are you with Ryan Ellis? Because last year it seemed like he was improving and there was a decent chance he would play this year.
Yeah, the rehab, there's been ebbs and flows. I think he made progress earlier in the summer. I would say the last 2 months, there hasn't been any visible signs of progress. It's been a frustrating injury. Nobody's more frustrated than Ryan. Nobody wants to play more than Ryan, but we're dealing with reality now, and he's not skating, so clearly he's a long way away from playing.
So he'll go on long term?
Potentially. I mean, that's certainly an option for us.
When did Joel Fairview return being able to skate?
Joel's been skating with the group for over a month now. He just has not had some contact. He had a little inadvertent contact in a couple of scrimmages when the players were conducting their own practices, but he feels great. I think we want to be careful here. Obviously, let the injury heal. We also want to make sure that Joel can do the off-ice training he needs to get stronger so that he can, not just survive but play well this season. So we're going to do what's in the best interest of Joel, but I think it's very encouraging. You saw him. He skated as hard as everybody, so the good thing is he's been handling the puck, skating. His timing will be great, so now it's just a question of getting him back into contact and making sure he's strong enough.
Chuck, in regards to Ryan, when things broke up last season, you said there was a surgical option wasn't really something that was going to be considered. Has that changed? Is that plan changed? Is there going to be a surgical option to fix whatever his issue is?
Well, the problem, I mean, I know we've been probably vague with describing the injury. I think we call it multifaceted, which it is. There's a psoas component of this. There's a hip component. There's an adductor component. So I'm not sure that if you go in and repair one part, it's going to fix everything. We're trying to work with trying to get everything back, rehab everything back. I've never heard of an injury like this. It's very complicated. A torn psoas is a very significant injury for a hockey player, a very rare injury. So we're doing the best we can, and we'll just leave it up to the medical experts.
So regarding Sean Couturier, obviously he had the back injury last year. He had surgery for that in February. Is this new injury a recurrence of the previous injury? Can you speak to the details of location and whether this is the same injury happening again?
I don't know that I can answer that specifically. I don't know that anybody knows. I know it's in the same area as the last injury. I know that he's been following the medical guidance of the doctors and our medical staff. I know over the course of the summer he was improving, but yet from time to time he had some nerve irritation in his glutes. He was told that it was a normal part of the process, continued to train, and at some point over the last week things deteriorated and he got to the point where he was not sleeping as well and experiencing some pain. So what triggered that, I don't know. Was it a recurrence? Was it a re-injury? Was it just not fully healed from before? I don't know, but it's a tricky injury. It's something, everyday life. You get in and out of a car, you sleep the wrong way, you pick something up, you work out, you skate. There's a whole host of components that impact your back, as we all know, and especially those of us that have had back issues before. So I believe we'll try to get to the bottom of it, and we'll do what's best for Sean.
You said
So
he's
what
going
was
for a second
clarified?
opinion. If the second opinion comes back in a negative way, is this potentially, number one, a season-ending issue, and then number two, is this something that could threaten his career?
Wow. Well, I think we're a long way away from knowing that. I know, speaking with him this morning, had breakfast with him. He feels much better than he did last year. He's able to walk around. He can sit comfortably. He feels he could even go out and skate right now. So to suggest it's career-ending or season-ending, I think is a long way away. But we'll leave it up to the specialist and see what his opinion is, and then we'll get together and get a plan.
Just
Chuck.
to clarify, it didn't happen like at a training session or a skate, like a
No.
combination of things?
No,
Okay.
he just woke up
Okay.
one morning and was in a little more discomfort than normal.
Getting back to Ellis for a moment, what Char just asked about Couturier, can you apply that same thinking as far as Ellis' career is concerned? Is this threatening his career?
Certainly that's a possibility.
How's he holding up mentally, Chuck? Is his frustration level, I gotta imagine, it's
It's
probably through
been
the roof.
extremely frustrating for him. I mean, he was, I don't think he ever expected to be traded from Nashville. I think he thought he'd be a Predator forever. He got over the initial shock of being traded. He came here. He dove right in, was a great teammate, took Ivan Provorov under his wing. They honestly had breakfast, lunch together every day. They were inseparable, trying to build that chemistry. I was so excited to start the season. When he played well, and nobody wants to play more than Ryan Ellis. And I know people in this market haven't had a great chance to see him, but high-end competitor, very good player, and it's been very difficult on Ryan as a human, trying to get healthy and trying to be a part of what we're building here and play. And but we'll hope for the best, and things can turn quickly as we've seen, both for the good and for the bad. But we'll keep working.
Chuck, going back to-
Speaking of defensemen, Travis Sanheim is one of your best defensemen. He's been one of your most steadiest. Have you started contract negotiations with him by any chance, since he's entering the last season of his contract, and so it's not a distraction in the locker room this year?
Yeah, well, we've had conversations with his agent. Our goal is to re-sign Travis. He's a big part of our team, and I think I mentioned this at the end of last year. In my opinion, he was probably the one and only player that played to their capabilities last year. I think he continues to improve. We'll hopefully continue to work and find a resolution. If we don't, I don't think it will be a distraction. It seems there's more and more players that play out the last year of their contracts. So if it comes to that, we'll deal with it. But everything's been professional and amicable, and we'll continue to chip away.
Chuck, what was the back injury that Sean was dealing with earlier this season, and what kind of surgery did he have?
I don't know off the top of my head, but he did have back surgery, and I think that's the best way I can characterize it.
There was
Down the middle, you guys are pretty thin, especially with Sean out and Patrick. Do you see any foreseeable moves coming, or do you feel like somebody within can step up, especially not just one spot, but essentially possibly two if Brown can't go?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this is a really important training camp. It's John Tortorella's first camp. We brought John in for a reason, not just a guy to change the culture and change standards and crack the whip, but John has a proven track record of helping players reach their potential, of helping young players get better. And I think we're just excited to get in, let John and his staff get to work, and let's see what we have here. Let's see where some of these young players are, and let's see where the health of our players are, and then from there we can make decisions. But it's a critical camp for a lot of players. And again, there's sort of unprecedented opportunity up front for some young players, whether, again, it's Owen Tippett or Morgan Frost, even a guy like Konechny to take on a bigger role now that Giroux isn't here, Joel Farabee. But there's also an opportunity for a lot of the young players that are coming into the system. I think we have 7 or 8 forwards that are basically starting their journey with us, whether it's Forster, Wisdom, Denoye. You have players like Cates. You have Bobby Brink, who will be back sometime at the halfway point of the year. So we have a lot of young players that Ole Lycksell, his first, he's played in Sweden, but his first pro year over here. So not every player is going to make our club, but all these kids are important parts of our future, and we're excited to see where a lot of them are.
Do you feel like
at.
any of those guys are changing positions, or everybody going to stay the same in that position, or do you think somebody can change to center because you're so thin down the middle?
Well, I mean, obviously Scott Lawton can play center. He can play wing. Lycksell's played some center before in his past, but I think we're going to start him on the wing here. That's probably the position he's played the most at. But we do have some depth at center still, and again, we'll see what the situation is with respect to Couturier and Brown, and then see how some of these players do, and we'll make decisions from there.
Chuck, changing gears for a
The
minute.
next session's about to start, just a few more. Thanks.
Chuck, changing gears for a minute. Obviously, the Hockey Canada investigation is ongoing. Carter Hart was on the 2018 Hockey Canada team. Have you been able to determine, whether he's a subject of that investigation, and is there concern regarding that on your part?
Look, first of all, this is a really serious matter. I think we all understand that. The NHL is conducting an investigation. They've been pretty adamant with all of us that at this point we should refrain from making comment. We should direct all questions to them. Certainly understand the question. It's a serious matter, but at this point I'll refrain from speaking until the NHL releases their investigation.
Is
Have you been told how long the investigation?
I haven't.
Is Hart cooperating with the investigation?
I believe from what I've been told, every player's cooperated.
Chuck, you
with
made
the
a change
investigation.
in the trainer. Yesterday, can you talk about why you made that change? And also, is Harry back with the team or no? And if not, why?
I really feel that in order to be successful on the ice, we have to have the right support crew off the ice. And we spent the bulk of our summer really in analyzing our staff, but also conducting exhaustive job searches for people to come in, whether it's John Tortorella and his coaching staff, Ian McEwen and the athlete performance and wellness staff. And we're very excited with where we landed with not only John Tortorella, but Ian McEwen. And Ian's only been on the ground for a couple weeks. What he's basically been focused on is rounding out the staff. And we announced the hiring of Tommy Alva to be our head athletic trainer, Jeff Taylor to come in a newly created PT type of position, a rehab position. We're looking into some soft tissue experts now to come in and work with our players. So Ian's been hard at work over the last couple of weeks along with Barry Hanrahan trying to build out the staff. But, as I mentioned when we hired Ian, I think it's really important that we look at different ways of taking care of our players. It's not enough just to help the players when they're hurt. I think the whole emphasis here is on trying to build out a program where we can prevent injuries from happening using data, using best practices, having experts in the field. So, look, it's going to be a process. It's going to take some time, but we brought some good people in, and we're excited with where we're going to take that program.
And is Harry back or no?
Harry's not back. No, we've made some changes to the equipment staff.
Who is the new equipment manager? Have you named him yet?
Yeah, John Peters.
Peters?
Chuck, are you comfortable with the prospect, as of now, of having competition between Felix and Troy to play maybe 20 to 30 games, or is that just an ongoing thing you'll evaluate at the end of camp, and you might have, it might come to a point where you might have interest in, bringing in a goalie from the outside?
Yeah, it's a great question, Bill, and we've spoke about this a lot the last 2 or 3 summers when we've been looking at backup goaltenders and who to come in to work with Carter. And it seems to be the same names every summer, the same types of goalies that are free agents. We just really feel that we need to start developing more talent internally. The goal initially going in was to have Ivan Fedotov with Felix Sandstrom, a goaltender like Troy Grosnick, and hopefully Samuel Ersson, depending on how he came back from injury last season. Let them compete. Let's see what we have. Let's give opportunities for these young goalies to not only provide depth in the NHL, but hopefully take a step and reach their potential instead of bringing in sort of career backup goaltenders. I'm not sure if that's the proper term, but obviously a little bit of a curveball with Fedotov. But Sandstrom, I thought played very well down the stretch. He played well here. Grosnick has had a long career, remarkably consistent numbers in the American Hockey League. Actually has phenomenal numbers in the NHL, has never really been given that opportunity. So we feel these guys can compete. And, Samuel Ersson I thought would need, maybe a half a season or a season in the American League, and maybe that'll prove to be true. But he's coming off a very successful rookie camp. Small sample size, I get it. But the fact that he's healthy and was able to compete at that level in rookie camp, I think bodes well for the future. So, look, we'll have to see, but at some point we have to give some young players a chance to grab a job if they can earn it. And believe me, with Torts, they're going to have to earn it. But if you don't give them a chance, how do you ever know?
Speaking of Fedotov, do you have any more clarity on that situation?
No, just, he has to fulfill a commitment back in Russia. And it's obviously a sensitive situation, but there's a commitment he has to fulfill, and really it's there's not much influence we can have in the situation.
What is your expectation after he fulfills his year in Russia?
Look, it's a sensitive situation. I think I'll just leave it that he has to fulfill his commitment in Russia. Obviously, he has a contract with us, but we'll just let things play out.
Chuck, you mentioned about the possibility of up to 10 players, 25 or younger, making this team. With the issues with Couturier, obviously, it's still unclear how long he's going to be out, but does that change the possibility of Couturier, missing extended time, missing the season? Does that change the organizational approach to the season and pivot a little bit more towards, playing young players and using this more as a future-focused year?
Well, part of our, I think I mentioned to you guys at the draft and free agency, part of our main focus this year is to provide opportunity for young players to get better. And, we've added a lot of young talent over the last couple of years. And I think it's really important we find out what we have. Last year, as I mentioned, a lot of adversity. Again, we didn't handle the challenges well, but it was also a very difficult year, I think, to fairly evaluate some of the younger players, particularly at the end when we had traded some players and we had some players out. You're throwing rosters together every night. And one of John Tortorella's strengths, and I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for this, is he's got a proven track record of making players better, of pushing players to be better, of developing young players. And that's a critical part of what we want to do. We want to find out what we have. Even take a player like Travis Konechny. Is he a 50-point guy or is he a 70-point guy? Let's push here a little bit. Let's see what we have. Ivan Provorov. Sanheim, I think, took a step last year, but Ivan Provorov is a good hockey player. Let's give him a chance to get better. You know, never mind the Yorks and the Addards and the Zamulas on the blue line. Some of these are young players. There's going to be ups and downs, but we have to demand more out of some of these players. They're not just our future anymore. Some of these kids are our present. So it's always been a critical part of what we wanted to do. If Sean is out for an extended period of time, that clearly makes things a little bit more difficult because he's arguably our best player, our number one centerman. But with that, there's opportunity for other players to step up. There's opportunity for Morgan Frost to step forward. There's opportunity for Scotty Lawton to play at center. There's opportunity maybe for Tanner Lazinski to take a step. He's 25 years old. We need to find out about Tanner Lazinski. He's not a kid anymore, but yet he's missed a lot of time. Looks great so far, for the little bit I've seen. But, you know, to me, that's the main storyline of this camp is let's see what we have. Let's see how good these kids are.
Last one.
In regard to some of these younger players, obviously camp performance is the first barometer, but if things are close, do waiver considerations factor in at all?
You know, they do because you want to make sure you have enough depth. And so that'll be something we'll sit down with the coaching staff. John's been pretty adamant that he doesn't care what the name on the back of your jersey is. You'll hear more from him today. But whoever earns it will earn it. But there's obviously some practical considerations at time that we'll have to look into. But you know, there's also health issues. How healthy are we? Sometimes you think you have decisions to make, and they're made for you by virtue of things you can't control. But look, we're you know, I guess I'll just say in closing, we understand, you know, there's a lot of questions about our team. We understand there's skeptics, but we're excited. We're excited to go out and prove people wrong. And the energy around this building is the best I've seen. There's a little bit of fear, but just a lot of genuine excitement from the players about getting back out. Let's get some stability here. You know, let's function as a team. Let's rebuild some things that we need to rebuild. So we're excited.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.